Hi guys, so today I want to do my July wrap up, and I know it's a bit late, but before I start I just want to let you guys know that I have officially been on YouTube for a whole year. I started making videos at the beginning of August last year and I've been really enjoying it so far and really loving this community and loving being part of this community, and I wanted to thank you guys all for subscribing to me. I think I have around 1,300 subscribers and it's really exciting for me to see so many people being interested in what I have to say about books, and I'm really happy that you guys are all watching my videos and commenting, and I just wanted to say that I really appreciate you all. And now I'm just going to go into what I read in July. So I read 7 books in July, which I'm really happy about. So the first book I read in July was The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton, which I buddy read with Antonia from 28 Bookmarks. This is set in New York City in the 1870s, and it's about a man, Newland Archer, who is set to marry his bride-to-be when her scandalous cousin comes to town, and that kind of changes a lot of things in the book. I didn't really love the style at first. It's quite a heavy writing style, but I grew to really enjoy the style. I really enjoyed the way the characters were drawn and how they evolved throughout the book, but overall it wasn't my favorite book that I read last month. The next book I read was a reread of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and I really enjoyed it. I find that rereading Harry Potter doesn't change how I felt about the books, it just rekindles all of my fond memories I have of reading them when I was quite young. The next book I read was Cranford by Elizabeth Gaskell, which was a buddy read with Leanne from Books and Babel and Pam, who is on Twitter under the name Chicklebird, and I think Andy from Estella's Revenge started reading the book as well. This is set in the Victorian era, and it's about a small town that is basically run by a bunch of women, and it's a very comical look into their lives, and it looks at the social norms at the time, and I enjoyed this, but I didn't really love it. I think that I much rathered North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. The books are completely different. I'm not trying to make a comparison, but because this was short stories looking at the town, I didn't find it was as cohesive as I wished it could have been, but I did enjoy reading this. I think a lot of the humor probably flew right over my head because I'm not as well versed in Victorian culture, but if you're really interested in that time period, I still do think it would be interesting for you to read. The next book I read is The Stepford Wives, and I really enjoyed it. It's about a woman and her family who moved to Stepford, and pretty soon she discovers that there's something really strange about the women in Stepford, and it's quite thrilling and psychological, and I really enjoyed it. It was quite short. It was shorter than I expected it to be, and I kind of wish it had been longer. I have to say that I much rather the book than the Nicole Kidman adaptation. After reading the book, I decided to rewatch the adaptation, and I wasn't a huge fan of the film after having read the book. The next book I read is My Year of Meats by Ruth Ozeki. This is a dual narrative, and on the one hand we're looking at a Japanese housewife, and on the other hand an American woman of Japanese descent who is working on a show called My American Wife, which is meant to promote the beef industry in Japan. I really enjoyed the commentary on both gender and on the food industry, and I thought this was quite a strong novel, and I'm really looking forward to reading more of Ruth Ozeki's work. The next book I read was Unaccustomed Earth by Jhumpa Lahiri, and I really enjoyed the short stories in this collection, and I really loved her writing as usual. However, I think it's important to keep in mind that a lot of her short stories and her books deal with very similar themes, so if you're reading too many of her works in a short period of time, it can get a bit repetitive. I found that I wasn't super surprised by any of the short stories in this book, and I found them very moving and gripping, but at the same time I wish maybe I'd left a couple years before picking this up, because I can definitely see patterns in her writing, and while I really like it when authors have a distinctive style, I think that it was getting a bit too much for me. I still rated this 4 stars, and I still find her writing really beautiful, but I think I'm going to wait a couple of years before picking up The Lowland. So the next book I read was Jazz by Toni Morrison. I read this for Read Morrison 2014, which is my project that I'm doing this year. I'll leave a link down below to my original video where I discuss the project. This starts out with a man, Joe Trace, who has recently killed his young lover and looks at his wife's dealing with this event. I don't have too much to say about this, and I really don't think I'm going to be doing an individual review of this. At the beginning of the novel, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed just the way that the novel was being spaced out. And then I would say about halfway through, I started getting a bit confused, especially when they were talking a lot about things that happened in the past. I kind of lost interest, and I wasn't a huge fan of this novel overall. And at first I really thought that I was going to love it, but by the end I was a bit confused about what Toni Morrison's motive was. If you guys have any thoughts on Jazz, please let me know down below and maybe we can discuss it because I'm still not 100% sure what I think about it. The final book I read in July is The House in Paris by Elizabeth Bowen, which is about a young girl who goes to Paris for a day because she's switching trains to go to the south of France, and she meets a young boy where she's staying, and it's about him and his family. And I think that this book is the kind of book that you want to go in not knowing much about the plot, because I found a lot of the plot kind of surprising because I didn't know a lot, and I think that that added to the charm. I find the book has a very eerie and mysterious tone to it, which I was not expecting and which I really enjoyed. I'm looking forward to reading more of Elizabeth Bowen's work. I definitely find her writing style very nice. So if you guys read any of these books, or if you guys have any book recommendations based on the books that I showed in this video, please let me know in the comments. I'm always looking for new books to read. I also would like to know what was your favorite book of the month. I have to say that I didn't really have a favorite book. I don't think I rated any books this month 5 stars. I think most of my ratings were either 3 or 4 stars, and while I enjoyed most of what I read, I didn't love anything. Usually I have about 1 5-star book a month, so July was a bit strange for me, but hopefully in August I'll love what I read a bit more than I did in July. So I hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll see you guys soon.